What's going on, lads? It's Blue No Psycho. Today we'll be looking at some of the transfer prospects from our Bournemouth career mode. Let's get into the video. This is ECDR. Don't really know a lot. Don't really know much about him, but from his stats, you can tell he's a very physical centre back, almost like a Vidic type player, or a Ferdinand, or a Smalling. Quite tall, quite strong, quite aggressive on the ball. He has a potential of 86 and he seems to look like a very good holding centre back. He's a man you can trust. The next one we'll be looking at would be Reece Oxford. So Reece Oxford is 17 years old, plays for West Ham originally, but in the first season on loan at Reading, so unfortunately you can't get him in the first season. But again, he's definitely a great player to get if you want a young, holding, average centre back. I think he'd make a great sub to start off with. The best thing to be is just keep training him until he gets better. He's quite fast actually for a centre back with 74, and that's just at this 66 overall. So this isn't before he's evolved and his stats get better. And I think that sprint speed would probably go up. Again, like I said, he's 6'3", so he's a really good holding centre back, and he has a potential of 85. Then we have Jedvaj? I don't know how you say that. Again, so with Jedvaj, he's a right back, and with the Bournemouth career mode, what I found so far is the right back and the left back positions definitely need a bit of altering. There's a bit of age in between them, maybe over 25, where I want to still keep the team quite young, and I think Jedvaj would be a great start to this. He hasn't got the best sprint speed skills, which could be a bit of a problem, but he has great, again, he does have very great physical strength, which can be quite good. He seems to be very aggressive with 83 aggression, and generally he's a pretty solid right back, and he has some crossing abilities which could be useful in the future with, if I want to push him down the wing a bit more, maybe make him into a right wing back. That would be quite useful. We then have Alejandro Grimaldo. I've heard of Grimaldo before, back in the later FIFA, especially FIFA 16. He's a left back, and again, like I said, he's a lot like Jedvaj, where he can maybe push up into more of a left wing back position and maybe up. So I can probably push him up a bit more if I'm struggling in the season with defence and things like that. Maybe him and Jedvaj could give me some more attacking prowess like later on. He has great crossing stats, great sprint speed, and overall technical and physical stats are very good, very decent. The next player we have now is Timothy Fosu-Mensah. So Fosu-Mensah is one that I've been having my eye on for a while. So I'm in desperate need of a centre defensive mid again, as I'm playing a 4-2-1-2 formation, and I have Harry Arter, Pew, another person, and they're all very good, but they're all centre mids, and I think I want a solid centre defensive mid for this. I think Fosu-Mensah could be good for like as a sub, and he has 87 potential. So what I'd be looking to do, a lot like Reece Oxford, would be just keep training him every week, and then playing him every so often, maybe playing him in some of the FA Cup games, the League Cup games, stuff like that. And again, he has really decent stats for a centre defensive mid. I mean, 80 sprint speed for a centre defensive mid isn't too bad. His passing's very good, his tackling's very good, so he obviously has some aggression on the ball, and I definitely want to see that in a centre defensive mid. Ruben Neves is a centre defensive mid I've tried out on FIFA 17 before. He is an absolute beast. So he's only 19, plays for FC Porto, and he's actually not too hard to get away from FC Porto. You don't have to pay a lot of money for him. He's quite easy to get away, and his wage is very standard, very cheap, especially for a Premier League team like Bournemouth, who probably haven't got the best financial on the game. Again, if you look at short pass, long pass, all his key stats there are very, very strong for a kid of his age. Are definitely very strong for his position. Neves has 85 potential, so a little less than Fosu Mensah, but he initially has probably better overall. So I'd rather see him as more of a first team player than Fosu Mensah or a bench player for a bit, and just keep constantly swapping them and keep constantly growing them. Levin Oztunali. Now, I used Oztunali on FIFA 16 last year. I think when I did my career mode with I think it was West Ham. So he is not available at the start, as he's only just moved from Leverkusen to Mainz. So you probably won't be able to buy him straight away. But Oztunali is a very good, fast, and technically able right mid. So he's quite fast. He's a very good dribbler. He can cut inside. Shooting's not the best, but he can cut inside a bit. But generally, he can just feed the ball anywhere really. He has got some good passing stats, and they definitely help. And that shows when you play with him more. A lot of these players, a lot of the younger ones, you have to play with them a bit and get used to them, as they all have their abilities and they all have their weaknesses, and that's just common with all of them really. So Leon Bailey, when looking through some of the players, Leon Bailey was one of the ones that really caught my eye. Firstly, his sprint speed looks absolutely phenomenal with that 94 acceleration, 93 sprint speed. His agility, great. Jumping isn't too bad. I mean, he's 5'11" as well, so he's not a small player, and for that speed of a player that tall, that's pretty decent. You can usually find as the height goes, the player gets a little slower. In the technical section, as you can see, his stats look absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there's only a few reds and a few oranges in there. Like, a lot of his stats are in the greens, a lot of his physical stats are in the greens, and Bailey himself has a potential of 87, which I see as a really, really good potential, considering he's a 76 overall already. Probably be maybe looking to swatch him and Jordan Ibe, as I think Jordan Ibe has some potential in him. So maybe try and play him a little bit more in that season, but keep Bailey as my first team player. We then move on to Kennedy, who is a Chelsea player. He's only 20 years old. Again, his sprint speed is fairly decent, but Kennedy does have an overall of 85, and he's a very young potential at Chelsea. So as you can see, his value is a little less, but his wage is a bit higher, and he's a very target player for me. So he probably won't be coming in through the first season, or maybe a few seasons on in the future. I'll be looking to buy Kennedy. Josh Onoma is another player that caught my eye. I know I've seen him in FIFA 16, where his potential probably wasn't as high as it was now, but he's obviously started to prove himself. He's played in a few games for Spurs recently, and he's been very solid in those games. Hasn't really showed any stress, hasn't really showed much. Onoma does have potential 85, and he's only 71, so like Mensah, maybe he'd be a bit of a bench warmer for the first season, then maybe we can progress him throughout. We then have Viktor Kovalenko. I haven't really heard of him, but he has potential of 87. He's very cheap. Again, his technical stats are very good, very standard. His acceleration and his sprint speed are very decent. Yes, he tends to have good attacking position in his mental stats, which is what I'd be looking for from a centre attacking mid, someone who can maybe pop a few goals in, support the strikers when they're needed. Giovanni Lo Celso, again, haven't heard of him. He's 74 rated. He has 86 potential, so one more than Kovalenko. His stats are probably a bit more average and a bit better on average compared to Kovalenko. Yeah, he does play for PSG, so he could be a bit harder to pull away from PSG, and his wage is a bit higher, so that could cause some financial strains on my Bournemouth team considering the amount of players I'm looking at. We have Vaclav Cerny. So I saw this on a video recently. I just thought I'd check him out. So I'm not really looking to play a right wing role, but I do have players in the team that can be a right wing role. So I have people like Max Gradle who can play down the left wing or the right wing, and I tend to play Max Gradle quite a lot. Jordan Ibe can play down the left wing, which would be quite useful. Cerny's stats overall for 70 are just, I think, really good. He doesn't necessarily have the finishing, which could be a problem, but again, that can be worked on. But he's definitely got the sprint stats, he's got the ball control, the dribbling. A very average, the stats I want him to have, he's got, and the other stats can definitely be worked on in the future. We then have Timo Werner. Now, I have a huge soft spot for Timo Werner. I've used him since like FIFA 15, and I think he's an absolutely phenomenal player. There's just something about him, and I don't know what it is, but he's great. He has decent finishing stats, which can definitely be worked on. His sprint speed's great, his physical attributes are great, and for the type of player he is, he's actually very physical, and that's what I like. I like a striker that's fast, but it's also a bit physical, isn't afraid to put his foot in, isn't afraid to knock a person off the ball, and Timo Werner is definitely that guy. He can definitely hold himself when he's running down the wing. Again, he can play down the wings as well, and he does have a potential of 85 this year, which is okay, I'll take that. But again, he will be harder to get away in the first season. We then have Kylian Mbappe Lotin. So Lotin he seems a little bit like Anthony Martial for me a few years ago when he was 19. So Lotin does play for AS Monaco like Martial did, but he seems a lot like Martial in the way that he plays, where he plays. His speed stats are very good, his controls are very good, and I see Martial like that. So he does have some passing ability, again like Martial, so maybe he could drop back into a centre attacking mid role if needed, or maybe just drop back a bit into a centre forward role, maybe like Martial, maybe on a wing even, but I wouldn't want to push him too much just because of his age. He's only 17. And the very last player we will look at is Maxwell Cornet. So Cornet's been in FIFA 16 as well. I don't think he had as high a stat then, but his stat has obviously increased this year, so it's increased to a 75, which isn't too bad. Again, with the Bournemouth squad, a lot of the players range around a 75 overall on average, and that tends to be good as they tend to come a bit cheaper as well, which is what I want, because obviously finance is not as much at Bournemouth than it is some of the other Prem clubs. He has great dribbling, great physical attributes, and not bad finishing for a left wing, unlike Cerny, who had a lesser finishing ability. He probably has more of a finishing ability, so maybe he could push up into a more striker role if needed in the future. But overall, these are some of the players that I am looking to buy for the Bournemouth squad. So some of them are maybe a bit out of my price range, but people like Donnarumma could definitely fit in. Jedvaj and Grimaldo could fit in. Diop would be a great one. Mensah would be a great one. Neves, Bailey, Anoma would be a great one. Definitely Cerny. I'd keep my eye on Werner, and probably keep my eye on Lotin and Cornet, as I think they both have great potential, especially because they're cheaper because of the French league. But then a lot of potential has come out the French league recently. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and in the next video I will be going straight into the Bournemouth career mode.